are we going to introduce ourselves?
Well, why don't you tell them your name? That's a good way to start.
Oh, why don't you introduce me and then I'll introduce you.
All right. This is my daughter Victoria's Wool. That is her brand name. And she's a knit designer. And she is excited about all kinds of yarn and wool and fibers, and she has been for a long time, and her desire to knit and then to make things that she can imagine in her head and make them come into real clothing is a very strong impulse. So Victoria Burgess is her name.
This is my mom.
Yep.
Who taught you how to knit?
Well, I had never really knitted before, but being around Victoria has inspired me because I always felt like my knitting when I tried was very uneven.
And crocheting?
I have crocheted in the past and have done some other handwork, but my real knitting progress happened because I was watching Victoria create so many good things.
I taught you how to knit.
Yes.
Is the short version of that story.
That's the short version.
Because I thought it would be a good idea.
Yep.
That I would be able to help you because I'm so close to you all the time. And how's that worked out?
Well, it's had its high points and its low points. But just for your information, my name is Gabriel.
Oh, yeah.
And I am a piano teacher. So my afternoons are spent at the piano with children of all ages. So I have not yet started knitting during teaching piano lessons. But some days when some students are not very prepared, I think, why don't I just pull out my knitting?
Oh, you sound terrible. Play that again.
Play that as long as you see me knit.
Yeah. What are you working on today?
Well, today I'm working on a Linus shawl. It's a pattern that I found on YouTube. And it actually is the pattern that I'm wearing. And I will show you what it looks like. Open.
How many have you made?
So this is I'm working on the fourth one. So I love this gradient yarn by Fierce Fiber. Mm-hmm. And it's perfect for this pattern. It just, it's just a wonderful exercise in watching color change.
How many yards was this? Is it 600?
600 in a skein.
So I a little cake.
In a cake.
Yeah, I think she machine knits it and then dyes it as knitted fabric and then unwinds it and sells it.
That's quite amazing.
Made it a little bit more expensive, but yeah, it's a nice fade of gold yellow. Yeah,
and so this is also the same pattern, and this is called Tuxedo. So it goes from this
Fierce Fibers to
Fierce Fibers out of Oregon.
Silk.
This is silk and
merino.
Silk and merino. Mm-hmm. So it goes from the darkest, which is a deep gray, to this light gray. Mm-hmm. And so in that spirit of the same Linus shawl, I'm working on another one, which Victoria has said looks like a rug. But
it doesn't look like a rug. I didn't say that.
But this is, much...
it's more like the things you've experimented making when you were crocheting than because you started with one yarn and then added in other yarns and then purchased more yarns as you had already started it and added those in.
So it will be heavy because the yarn is a DK instead of fingering. So it will be heavy, and I won't be wearing it this summer.
This is a DK, and then you did 2 strands of fingering weight, and then you added in a mohair in there too.
Yeah, so it has a halo.
Yeah, this is the kind of plate. This is how I call it. It's a plate of armor of material.
Yeah, it doesn't drape. Let's just put it that way.
It does. It's just heavy.
Yep.
And actually, are we showing them? No, it's garter, so there's little eyelets that you put in there.
Yep. So that's all, I'm just being inventive without much knowledge. But tell us about your being inventive with a little bit more knowledge.
Well.
Yes.
Well. One of the things we forgot to say was we're living in Washington State. Mm-hmm. We live on an island in the Puget Sound. And we live together.
We do.
So we do this a lot. And we sit around and talk about knitting things and all kinds of different things. Mm-hmm. But my design business is new. It's a baby. I'm in my second year. I've done 8 things, 1 free pattern and 8 purchasable patterns. And gosh, I don't really like talking about it.
Why? Why don't you like talking about your own?
I'll talk about it, but you need to ask me a specific question.
All right. So what is something you designed that was one of the first things? We'll go from the first things to your more recent.
I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that?
No.
What is your most recent design?
The reason I don't want to do that is that I couldn't find them all.
Oh.
There's all this knitting, both yarn up there and finished objects up there it's a mess. So I found some things. And the biggest thing is this, which is my sister's Braids.
That's beautiful.
Which is a big, well, it's kind of like a medium-sized medium shawl. It's got a big center cable. Which is hard to show. There's much better pictures on Instagram. And then, of course, there's the little side cables. And then the little tassel. And this started in August. And it took 7 months for me to get it out. And I think it's probably my best thing. What you say?
So what inspired the name and the concept of that?
Well, originally I came up with it because I signed up for a free webinar on someone else's design workshop. And I didn't follow through with all the steps. I only did the first few, which is you were supposed to pick a yarn and then you were going to try to design a shawl with it and come up with ideas. And they had us do a mood board. And I had never done a mood board before, so I did it on Pinterest. And actually, it's available on my blog. I saved that. I took a screenshot of that mood board and put it up on my blog about this shawl. Because it did, the yarn did say to me that it was, it said a bunch of different things. It said mint chip, reminded me of that flavor of ice cream, which is Obama's favorite flavor. Yes. Apparently. And of turquoise and the earth and yarrow. And so I kind of came up with, I pulled pictures of turquoise stones. There was a really big turquoise floor that I found a picture of. And wrought iron, banisters and railings and things like that. And the picture of a yarrow plant growing. And so I had that kind of earthy concept. And so I named it Turquoise and Iron. I usually give up my patterns a pet name until I figure out something else. And then Candace from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers, started her Indigenous Women's Initiative and asked for other makers to donate things to giveaways or fundraisers every month. And I had the idea of submitting this and then told a Native Canadian friend of mine about it, and she named it My Sister's Braids right then on the phone. She was really excited about me donating it and named it right then. So it has Native American connection, at least. I'm not Native American, but yeah. So if someone were to ask me where the inspiration came from, that's the story of how I put it together, but I don't really know. It's one of those things you look back and it's not very clear whether you created it or whether it just showed up in front of you and you happened to be aware enough to grab that idea. So looking back, and people have asked me, are you so excited about it? It's so pretty. And I'm like, well, it doesn't really feel like I did it. It just sort of feels like it came through you.
We've talked a lot about creativity and how ideas for things seem to be everywhere.
Right, once you start looking for them,
mm-hmm.
they assault you, actually. Well, not quite that. It feels like they're like hitting you all the time,
mm-hmm.
that you can't stop them. And you don't know which ones to choose and spend so much time working on them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pick the one you're going to work on for whatever it ends up being, 3 to 7 months or something that you're going to dedicate a lot of time to. So you don't know which one's good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels a little overwhelming when they come. And when I remember being in the shower, when I was contemplating starting a design business. Well, I don't even have any ideas, and I've heard other people say that to me too. I don't really have any ideas. I don't know if I do. And then I thought that, and then in the shower, all these ideas that I had previously conceived of came to mind. Well, what about that one? And what about this one? And what about that? And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there are some things. And then I took a class from Bristol Ivy, her Knitting Outside the Box book. Which it's a book called Knitting Outside the Box, but she also teaches that class, and in it she gives a bunch of exercises on stirring up creativity and ideas. And in that class I doodled like 12 different designs, which I actually haven't used or really looked back at, but I was shocked. Like, oh, look at all the stuff that's happening, and
mm-hmm.
you just kind of have to ask for it, and then it appears. But I haven't mastered the part where you know which one to choose, or making the decisions about what aspects to keep, because you come up with a basic design and then you have to make construction decisions a lot, and they affect other things. So it feels like you just end up having to make a lot of decisions, or change your mind, or you knit and it doesn't look right, or doesn't look clear. I knit the beginning of this 20 times, this little section up top, because you start with a certain number of stitches garter type cast on, and then you have to grow it to get to do the cable in the center. You need, quite a large amount of stitches, and you have to grow into that. And I wanted it to grow into it and look nice, and I would do it and it would look messy. It wouldn't be very clear within the yarn, because this is this is Farmer's Daughter's Fibers squish worsted, hand dyed with lots of speckles. So there needed to be very clear. The design message needed to be clear, and it was easy for it to get muddled and look like nothing, just messy. So sometimes I try something and the yarn just doesn't work with the yarn. I think starting with the yarn is I wish I could do that more. Like holding the yarn and be like, what do you want to be? Rather than thinking, oh, I really want to do this project. And then you just try to swatch it and it just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And you end up swatching a lot. And I just did that all last week. Mm-hmm. I kept looking for the right yarn approach, or seeing a stitch pattern in a book, and then it's done in a much larger yarn because they're photographing it. They want it to come across, and then I'm using a fingering weight yarn, and it just doesn't look the same. Mm-hmm. And I don't always realize why it doesn't look right immediately. Maybe it's the fiber content, maybe it's the size, it's the color, it's too distracting, something like that. So I'm not really good at that yet. I mean, maybe you just always think around. You're a much better experimenter than me.
Well, did you go through a process of feeling like you couldn't start over, or you couldn't put away your first idea? Sometimes we attach to an idea, and then we feel bound to that idea, and then we feel bad about ourselves when we see that idea is losing its
It's no longer what you thought.
It's no longer even what you want, but we're bound to that idea.
Sure. I mean, I've heard other designers say, you know, the idea never ends up as you first imagined it. I try to keep that in mind. Like, it's okay to change it, but I still feel like, oh no, but I wanted it to be like this. And that I feel like I haven't done the right work to get there yet. But that also is, I guess that could be the process I choose to do every time if I'm like, no, I want to stay with this idea. I don't think I think you would have to create something and go, oh, I like this more to take that further. And I don't know if I've had that experience. Oh, I like this more than what I was doing before. So maybe it's more like, I like this, but I kind of wanted this other thing to work. I don't know. So it's amazing that this Sister's Braid shawl worked so well. And it worked out. And that people liked it. Yeah. It was successful.
There have been some beautiful pattern makers, or not pattern makers, but makers who have used the pattern.
Testers.
Yeah. And they really look lovely. And each of them is so different because of the kind of yarn they've chosen. All right.
Well, that was that one. So this is available on Ravelry at Victoria's Wool. And you can see more photos of it on Instagram too. The other one I have that I want to talk about today is this one. I picked this because it went with the sweater. So the sweater is my friend Rachael Reese, Rachael M. Reese on Instagram, and her business name is September Knits. But she did this sweater. This is the Hyla sweater. I made a little more of a cropped version. It has the 4 little juicy cables on it, and then it's just garter. It's a raglan. But I did this in Juicy DK by the Farmer's Daughter Fiber. I'm a little obsessed with the Farmer's Daughter Fibers.
Oh. I have some waiting for me to make this from.
Oh, did you buy Farmer's? Oh, no. You just changed the subject.
Okay.
Anyway, this is Rachel's design, and I really enjoy wearing the plushness of the garter stitch. So it goes well with this other design, which is mine. This is a infinity scarf. It's not really a cowl. I don't know that if the definition crossover of like an infinity cowl or an infinity scarf. I think it's a scarf. I definitely knit it flat, but it's large enough to wrap 3 times. Anyway, pretty lace. And this one is called Fruition. This came out in August last year. This is probably my only summer knit. But yeah, you can wrap it twice, but I prefer 3 times. Yeah. And it is really actually very warm. I've worn it in the winter too. Just because it has little lacy holes in it. And people.
So what kind of is that you said it was a worsted or a?
This is a sport weight.
Sport weight.
It's a Bunnet Earth fiber, which is a fiber mill in Whidbey Island, I think. I think it's on Whidbey. And there, Lydia is the owner and operator with her husband. Really nice people. Booth next to them at Knit City. This is their Joseph and Annie yarn, and in the color cinnamon, I think, because there's 2, cinnamon and pepper. And I really liked it. It was really nice to knit lace, and it's nice to knit lace in something bigger than lace weight. I've never knit lace weight is what I call cry myself to sleep yarn because it's just so small. Why would you want to do that? So this doing lace on a bigger gauge. Like Sylvia McFadden of Soft Sweater has done a lot of lace shawls that are worsted weight, so it's really fun. You should do some lace. You're going to do this one. What are you going to do this in?
I guess it's not Farmer's Daughter. It's Magpie. I'm doing.
I also like Magpie a lot.
Yeah. So I'm doing kind of a dark purple, like your sweater.
Yeah.
And I'll be carrying some mohair, which is a light pink. So I really don't know yet how that will look, but I'm excited to try it.
Did you get enough?
I don't know.
That was the concern. You only had. Did you get 2 purple skeins?
Nope. Just
we got
one.
one purple skein and one mohair skein.
Mm-hmm. Because I didn't.
Well, you could make a littler one, I guess.
I just didn't know what I was going to make out of it.
Right.
So I was.
And it's not a sport weight, but it is a heavier. It's a swinky sock.
Yeah.
It's a heavier fingering, so that might be okay. Yeah, you could use a fingering weight with this. You're just gonna get. You could do an extra repeat of the little flower, the leaf. You could do an extra repeat. There's 3. You could do an extra one and make it
Wider?
Wider.
Well,
It won't be wider than this because this is bigger yarn, so you would get anyway.
Okay.
Adapt it and make it however you want. You probably just knit until you're out of stuff and then finish.
I
I
don't live by the knitting rules.
Well, I try. I do impose them on you quite a lot, don't I?
Yes.
You have to do it like this.
You do.
What are the things that you're not supposed to say to a new knitter?
Yes. So all of you are going to be asked at some point to teach someone how to knit, and here is one really important rule.
Want me to say it?
I'll let her say it the way she said it to me, but here's something you must never say to a beginning knitter.
Why did you do this? How did you do this? How did you make this mistake?
Yep.
The ball of yarn. Remember the ball, the mess from the yarn vomit that came out of the middle of the cake?
Yes.
And that, like, why did you let this happen?
And it's, I don't know how to answer that.
Because it's a rhetorical question.
Is it? Well,
or like it means really something else. Is like, I can't believe you did this, or then there's the other one where you knit so tightly that when you want me to fix something for you, I just can't handle it.
She said,
I will not do this.
Do this.
You did this to yourself. I can't because I'm so loose that I just can't.
The irony of it was last week, my granddaughter was in the car with me watching me knit, and she wanted to knit. And so I started her off with a little ball of yarn and she was doing really well until all of a sudden she said, what have I done? And she handed it to me, and I thought, I want to say, why did you do this? But I didn't, because I know what it feels like to be asked that question.
Why? Yeah. Or then I think another question is, are you sure you want to do this? Because you're not likely to know. I'm more likely to be the one to be like, I don't think you want to. That's going to be hard. Or...
Yes.
Yeah. But I have come in and, like, you've asked me to fix something, and then I've snuck in and, like, fixed it and then walked away. Yes. I don't like being told what to do, so I'm much more likely to do something that you don't know about.
The other day, she finished the gloves I
know,
made.
But only after you've been asking me for 4 or 5 months. Please finish these thumbs. Well, the problem was I told you couldn't do the thumbs. That was really the problem. That I didn't think you were capable of doing them very well, so I wanted to do them for you. And then I did that first pair. That was for someone else. And then your second pair, you were like, I need you to knit my thumbs.
So would you like to see this design? This is a design that Victoria made. I'll just get them.
Are they in that big basket back there?
Yeah.
So this is our kitchen. It's dark back there because it's kind of cloudy today. But there's a lot of light in this space.
So I loved this pattern when I saw her first one.
It's called Zever, and it's named after a character in NCIS, that TV show,
who might come back.
Who might reappear.
Has a little cable on the thumb, so I'll put it on. Anyway, I wanted to make my own.
Yeah. Right, so it has a cable on the back and a cable on the thumb.
Nice.
They're nice.
Yeah, I made these.
Yeah, that was my third pattern. It's like fourth pattern.
Zever mittens.
Zever mittens. Yeah. Something I just finished knitting recently is this. This is my balloon blocking. I haven't taken off the balloon yet. This is the Ridge. I'll have to do it, and I'll have to put it on the screen because I don't want to say it incorrectly, but it's like Ridge Wood or something. This is by the Knitty Pine, and it uses a slip stitch pattern that you switch every row, and then these twisted stitches. Yeah, and they're twisted stitches on the bottom. I shoot 2 different versions. Shoot the beanie version and the slouchy version, and I get the beanie one. Yeah. Do you want to put it on?
Okay. Now I'm going to end up being the model.
I can put it on too. My hair is wet. It's cute.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. It blocked out. Well, this is Magpie or Madtosh vintage. They're her worsted weight yarn. So it did stretch a little bit. It was a little smaller when I tried it on. Yeah.
Nice.
It feels kind of like, oh, what a wintry fall day. But it's not really. It's May.
But it's not getting above 60 until the sun burns off.
Right. Yeah. And I worked on that this week and last week, and then my long-standing whip. I am knitting a No Frills, and I knit this.
No Frills.
This No Frills. I started at the end of April. Number 1. I knit almost the entire body, and then I realized I had an alternated skeins, and there was a line, and that kind of drives me crazy. And I asked Allie of Explorer Knits, who dyed this yarn. I asked her to dye this yarn for me specifically. So I spent money doing this project, so I did not want to have a line. It was valuable enough to me that, special handmade yarn that I wanted to. This is her Marvelous, and this is the mohair label. The other, it's mohair with her Rocky sock, which I think is the 100%. So I took it all out. You helped me.
Yes, we frogged.
I was not very happy when we did that. You were so nice to me. You kept going. You were like, how long are we going to do this? And I'm like, till it's all undone. Well, we realized that people say about mohair being hard to rip back is that you should keep the mohair and the merino together. At first I was like, oh, we should separate them, and then I gave up. Just ripped it out together in one big. I had 2 skeins at that point, 2 big giant balls. And then I was successful in, there's not a line now, but I did have a line on the sleeve, so I started the sleeve, and then I ripped it out. I got about this far before, and I ripped it out, and there is a little bit one, you can see it, but you know what? After doing it, this is the second time on this, I just had to decide that there's not one on the back. So I just had to decide that's just going to be how it was, because I don't think the yarn I have left is going to be able to not make a line. I think there's probably a way that you can save some yarn from the yoke. I don't know, that you could hold it off and do each sleeve so that you have some blending yarn. But anyway, that takes time to think ahead. That kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the compromise. But I took, I think, 3 days to knit 2 days to knit the yoke the first time. And then the second time took quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 weeks, because I was no longer enthusiastic about it. And then a long time to finish the body. So I really like to be done with it. I think it's kind of, when you have a project that stalls you like that, it kind of kills your knitting mojo for a while. And I had been knitting a sweater a month for 5 months before that, so.
Wow, that's right. A lot of sweaters.
Productivity goes, and I don't let myself now, I don't do cast-on-itis, because my goal was, at the beginning of the year, I was like, I'm going to finish all these older projects before I cast on new things. And I didn't quite get there, but I finished a lot of stuff. I think I have 2 or 3 projects from last year. Well, I have a couple ones that are older than that. But anyway, I have 3 or something, with the idea that I can cast on as many designs as I want, but I can't work on other people's stuff, other people's designs, my personal whips, unless they finish their current ones. So, yeah.
That's good discipline.
Well, it just kind of gets out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then you no longer care about what it is because it was so long ago. I had a basket of stuff that was super old that I what I could say I culled a lot of those things because they no longer matter to me.
Yeah.
And I threw things away.
What?
I did. Threw yarn
You
away.
threw unfinished projects away?
Well, yarn that I couldn't unravel really quickly. There was some stuff that was really tangled up and I just threw it out.
Mm.
Yeah. We have someone coming to knit with us every once in a while, and she's knitting lace weight, and she's a new knitter. And I keep saying to her, just drop kick that lace in the woods. It'll biodegrade eventually. She laughs, and I'm like, I'm serious. Get some worsted away. Get rid of that. Because she's like, it's been 2 months, and she's made no progress, and I don't think she's enjoying it. I'm pushing her, just get rid of it. I'll give you some other yarn. Yeah.
Yep.
So, you working on anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, I'm doing kind of a crazy one. It's the same Linus shawl pattern.
This is the fourth that you're saying.
But I bought a Homespun House little these minis,
skeins.
and I don't know the rules. Can you put these colors together or those two? I just thought, what if I just started with the one skein and then started blending in the next skein? And so
I gave you that book.
Yes, she did
There's
give me a book.
There's a gradient book.
How
It tells you how to stripe in different ways. I think it's an interweave. I think it's called Gradient by Interweave Knits.
So I started with the kind of chocolate chip mint and
Yeah.
went into the plum. And then into the plum, I started some green.
That's Magpie that you faded into.
And then
Yeah.
I've been fading some blue into the green. And then now I'm on the blue.
Yeah.
And then after
You have 2 pinks left?
I've
after
got
that?
this pink.
I don't think it's going to be big enough, but
And
it's just
then
my
they'll be coming this little
opinion. Yeah.
this
I
little
don't think I
curl.
have enough yarn. But
But anyway, no, it won't be as big as my others.
that's
and
true.
It
It
may
won't
just be a
big.
kerchief.
Yeah. I guess if you're okay with spending that much money on making a kerchief.
But it won't lack color.
Well, we really like Molly from Homespun House. That's
Yes.
her and mini kids. We
Yes.
really like her.
We do. And I was excited to ball up her yarn and then use it.
We talk about her and we could talk about Christy Glass, the knitters that we both follow. Did you see this morning on? And I'm like, I haven't watched it yet.
and
And
Hopi.
Hohi Locatelli,
Yes.
her knitting journal, and then the Spastrico ladies
That's right. Those are our models for doing a yarn.
podcast.
Podcast.
They're just the people that we watch. Well, and the Grocery Girls too.
Mhm.
They're the ones
So we
that
thank you.
watch.
We thank
they're
these
never going to
women.
see this.
We thank these women for sharing their ideas and being enthusiastic and allowing us to knit while they talk. So I hope you're
Molly's
knitting
very
while we're
enthusiastic.
talking.
I love my basket. Right?
Yep. Just love it.
I just love it so much. I found this in my closet this morning. I wanted to bring it out because you made this for me.
What?
Yeah, and you don't remember? It's a
No.
crocheted. It's with Cascade 220. You can kind of see the fibers are floating around. I haven't brought it out in a while. Yeah, I think
Wow.
it's it was from a book. I saw it in a book and asked you to make it for me.
Wow.
So it's a long skinny scarf, which I haven't worn in a long time, but yeah.
Well,
Back when I worked at that store that sold Cascade.
I
That
don't.
doesn't look good like that, but it was cute. I think you used the whole skein. Well, maybe not, but a lot of it. And you were probably tired of it by that time.
So you want to talk about makers and families?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do we have makers in our family?
Well, it occurred to me that if you come from a family that are makers, you might not see yourself as a family of makers because it's just a normal activity. You would see your grandmother knitting. You would see your mother sewing. It would just be a part of your life. And so you aren't probably going to sit back and go, oh, I'm from a family of makers.
Well, that word is new in the last few years to become a maker.
Yeah.
It's like a capital M. You were just a crafter, probably. Just a crafter.
Oh, but here's what I'm thinking is that when you are gifted by being in a family of makers, you actually have a physical genealogy of who they are and what they chose to create. So I'm going to show you an amazing crewel, I think, stitchery that my aunt made.
How's that word spelled? What's
crewel?
Yeah.
C-R-E double L.
Okay, it's not spelled how.
It's not like a cruel thing. So this was a gift for my wedding 45 years ago. So I'll try to show it from a little further away.
Yeah.
So this looks very much like where she lived, and she's like passed away. No, it was in northern Germany where she lived. And she lived in an apartment that had a similar look to it. And so I never got to ask her when I visited whether this was from a pattern.
Tante Honey?
No, Tante Anna.
Okay.
I didn't get to ask her, like, did you have a printed pattern for this? And did it come with the thread all designed, or did you make this up?
She probably made it up.
She could have. So it's so incredibly beautiful, and it's around me every day.
So Tante Anna would have been your great aunt?
She was my father's sister.
Okay.
But look, I wanted to show you how well she finished it, because I think my family of makers really understood to go all the way, and I'm just barely learning that, to finish it with finesse. And so this is, all covered in and sewn up beautifully. And anyway, that's
hangs in the living room.
It hangs in our living room, and it is definitely an heirloom.
Is it like rug hooking?
It's not. It's the fabric is kind of like burlap. So rug hooking is even rougher. The holes you go into, the form you're stitching into. Okay. And this is some stitchery that my mother did. And she was a seamstress. She was a professional seamstress. And so she was always working on things. And I'm sure that this was a kit, but there are so many parts of it that are things that she did on her own.
Did she make it in Germany, or did she make it when she was in Utah?
She made it in America. What I love is on the back she used some fabric that she'd made. Our pillows in our living room have these fabrics.
Yeah, they do look familiar.
And then, of course, she's
fringed
it with the leftover yarn. And look at she's even crocheted this border. Mm-hmm. So the fringe can come off of it.
Did your mother knit, or did she crochet? Because she made lace doilies.
Yeah. I mean, she could do it all. But I don't think knitting was her favorite thing.
I don't quite remember her doing it ever.
I think she actually liked creating art that could be framed, not garments.
Oh, okay.
Because she sewed. So all the garments she made
were
from fabric. And I mean, I did not have a store-bought dress until I was 12.
Right. She had an old singer that was attached to a table.
A treadle?
Yes. I remember dinking around with that, and I probably wasn't supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's so tempting to put your feet on the treadle and go for it, which, if it was threaded, would cause a big jam up in the bobbin. And so, yeah, you were not supposed to.
And somebody inherited that, but I don't know who it is.
My sister-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. Kathy has it?
No, Sigrid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say if Kathy has it, I might be able to get it, but not if Sigrid has it.
So these are just creative women in my family that do inspire me and make me remember that I am able to bring ideas into physical objects and keep creating.
Yeah, I think it's easier to see to know you can do something creative when you see other people able to do it.
And I was really surprised when you started knitting.
Well, surprised when? You mean you were surprised that I wanted to when I was 12? Or
No.
When
you came back to it later and I thought, wow, And then I realized that her skills were improving quickly.
Oh, I don't know about that.
That seemed to me.
I think the first 5 years were a little bit of just thinking around until I got a good tension. Made a big difference.
Yeah. So, anyway,
Yeah.
Some of these things might be valued and cherished by those that come after us. We never know what is going to be a prized possession to someone else later on. And it's usually not what we want them to prize. It's usually something that
something else,
something that they see that
because everybody has different tastes.
Yep.
So if it's like knitting somebody something without knowing what kind of clothes they like to wear, or knowing, you can knit somebody a big cowl and find actually their temperature runs really high and they don't really wear
anything around their neck
unless it's super cold, or anything around their neck because they don't like it. I have friends like that too. You're like, well, how do you knit for them?
Mm-hmm.
You just don't.
Sometimes you don't.
You just don't knit for people. Sometimes. Well, and when we were doing the prep for this episode, you'd asked me about how I started knitting. What was the thing that I was really drawn to, which was that I did a lot of ballet, and I started getting tall when I was about 12. So I think I didn't make these when I was 12. These are basic ribbed leg warmers that I still wear, and they have little ends poking out. But they came from, this is yarn that came from Angela, my sister-in-law, and she learned to knit in college. And when I didn't continue knitting at age 12, I think I picked it back up from her when she visited us. And then when we were going from Arizona to California, she gave me this yarn and her needles. And I don't think I knit them I don't think I finished them in that sitting at that time. Because I remember her showing me over and over again before I found the internet. And then I did make them. So I brought that up because I wanted to knit leg warmers that were longer for me, being a tall kid, the ones I could find in the store. Because there's a lot of knitwear and dance. You wear kind of like shrugs or like boat neck sweaters, and you wear leg warmers, and you wear little knit shorts, and even whole knit kind of like dungarees, kind of overalls that you kind of roll. Sometimes you wear them on your legs and you roll the bottom down, and sometimes you wear them out. So all kinds of different things that dancers are wearing to keep themselves warm when they dance all day long. So the leg warmers you could buy at the time were mostly acrylic, probably, but they were short, so they only came up to like the top of my knee, and I wanted the whole leg. So I thought, I'll knit my own. I don't know where I got that idea from. I could knit my own. Obviously, these are not. I've never knit the thigh high leg warmers that have my dreams, but maybe someday I will. I did knit several other pairs of leg warmers eventually when I stuck with it. So this is a cable pair. I don't remember the name of this pattern because this was a long time ago. And I even have a mistake right there. You can see.
You're not supposed to show your mistakes.
Well, it's okay. I mean, you mean not show it or not point it out?
Not point it out.
It's okay that it's there. Yeah. So I definitely will design some leg warmer patterns in the future, hopefully.
So that was your first desired garment.
Yes, it was. And I always wanted to knit for garments, particularly. I would say the process knitter or product knitter. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Process. Anyway, the two, whether you enjoy just doing it or whether you actually want the thing. I always wanted the thing. Mm-hmm. But I do enjoy the process. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes I don't enjoy the process.
No, that's true.
But I will knit something. I'm currently knitting this little guy. I mean, I'm knitting the No Frills too, but this is one of the others that I'm working on. This is a round yoke pullover that is black. It's blue, really, but when I ordered the yarn, I meant it to be black because I wanted to wear like a basic sweater. I took this from a different pattern, which has color work, and it's the Shifty. It's the Andrea Mowry pattern that's the sweater shift version. It may be called the Shifty. Anyway, her pattern, it has mosaic slip knit and purl stitches, and it has colored yarn. And I said, no, I really like the fit of this sweater, so I'm going to make a black version that has nothing but knit stitches in it. And actually, another friend of mine, I altered the pattern for her specifically. Well, I didn't alter it, but I suggest that she do it because she wanted to knit a basic cropped sweater too. So she finished hers. She knit. Every time I work on it, I'm like, man, really impressive. She finished this sweater.
Have you seen her wear it?
Yeah, she's worn it.
That's the test.
Yeah, so knitting a black sweater in size, I'm using a 2.
Ugh.
And I've been knitting it for several months. It's nice to have something that you just knit on all the time. Because even the No Frills, like now I'm doing the sleeve increases, I have to think about that. And I am alternating skeins, so I have to think about that. Or maybe I need to try something on and I put it aside because I don't like trying stuff on. And then I'll knit this. Because you can always pick it up. So I think that's important if you want to knit and all the time and actually get stuff done, that you have something that you want to have. It's not just an object that you're knitting just to have stockinette to work on. You want to have it, but it's just stockinette. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you can. I mean, I'm halfway. It's only 10. The body's only 10 inches, so I'm halfway. So it's a little encouraging. I might finish it by the end of the summer. Anyway, that's kind of what I brought down.
Okay.
To talk about. We have lots of other finished objects. I think you should show all your finished objects
another time.
As the time you've knitted a sweater.
I have knitted a sweater, and I've got another sweater in the works.
Right.
But it's all a little scary. But
you haven't been working on that.
I know. But next time, at the next
there's going to be
one,
color working in your... You're like,
I'm not good enough.
I don't know how to do this, even though I told you I would help you. But I understand because my help isn't all that happy. It's not like, oh, great, you'll help me. It's more like, do I want you to help me? She's going to yell at me. Why did you do it like this?
Yes. Yeah. But
anyway, you did okay.
That's when product becomes more important than process.
For me, you're probably more interested in Well, what did you said to me, though, that you realized that if you actually wanted something to look good, you had to push a little harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was very surprised.
Naturally don't have that perfectionist.
I am not a perfectionist, and I find that I admire perfectionists, but I find that their doggedness goes against my grain, but then I'm often disappointed when what I have spent time on
doesn't work out,
is not as good as I'd like it to be. So knitting has encouraged me to be patient and to be a little more ready to go a little longer,
like you were saying,
work a little harder.
You want those finishing details.
Yeah, like I was saying, my mother and my aunt didn't just finish their project, they also then created the project, made it look good when it was hanging, and they encased it beautifully, and that's a sign of...
Well, for myself, treating those steps as part of the project, rather than, oh, I'm done, yay, but I have to do all this stuff. I actually treat it as part of the project. And because they usually take less time, sometimes they don't. I don't know, I like to go against what other people, the common experience that other people have. Mm-hmm. So with a lot of people whine about finishing, I'm like, no, I'm going to like finishing. And I'm going to do it really well, and I'm going to spend lots of time. And I'm going to make sure that I do have I didn't get it from you.
Nope.
the setting up everything you need. Okay, I don't know how to do this, so I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna turn the nice lights on, and I'm going to sit down and give myself lots of time to like, look it up and be really thorough and like make a little research of it, and then do it and be prepared to take it out again if it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you didn't get that from me.
And I didn't start out that way, but I actively made that choice. It's not going to be a bad experience to finish stuff. And then, because actually I think I enjoy finishing. Mm-hmm. Rather than not finishing at all. I'm not just talking about the finishing parts, like the seaming and blocking and stuff. I actually like finishing something fully. If you knit a bunch of stuff, if you start a bunch of projects, like when I decided I was no longer going to have a lot of whips, having a goal, and then you've got all these half knitted objects that you just bang out because they're waiting to be finished. That it feels really good. I finished like 5 items in a week in December because they were all waiting eagerly to be done, and then I was like, I'm so great! Look at all I can do. So I think I prefer finishing something to starting one, because the starting process for me includes swatching and figuring out what size to choose, and I'll often adjust stuff. So there's a lot more thought process and work that has to go into making those decisions, and you don't do that when you finish necessarily. You have to go through that. You go through something else. Personal taste, I guess, of what I prefer to do, what other people prefer. You can't just cast. I can't just cast on anymore. I know too much information to just cast on. I know too many things that could go wrong or not work out. That just casting on, sitting on, casting on. I'll try to do that with a hat. But like, I'm just gonna knit this hat with this yarn that I never get gauge with, and it was huge. It was the Brooklyn Tweed hat. I never get gauged with Brooklyn Tweed's patterns or with their yarn because I knit too loosely. So I should gauge swatch or at least adjust it. And I started that hat in January. I'm like, I'm just going to knit it. And it was like a big poof chef's hat, Rastafarian hat that I totally took out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Well, you might want to let me know why you want to do
Why do you want to do a podcast?
Why do you want to do a video yarn cast?
Well, I feel like there's space in amongst all of them that I've seen for people to have conversations about knitting and about creativity. And it's not just about what products we've purchased. Because we didn't actually say, we talked about yarn we bought, but we haven't yarn hauled at all. Or in the stash position or any of them. Those things are entertaining, but I think there's so much of it. When I watch a podcast that's primarily based on that, first of all, I want to buy something, and that I can't afford that. And so it's nice to have a podcast where people are talking about knitting and talking about their process, or talking about the choices that they made about the project rather than just what they purchased. So I think there's space for that conversation. And I've been wanting to do one for a while, but I didn't want to do it by myself. I wanted to do it with someone else. And you just happen to be the perfect person. I thought, well, there's some knitting friends I have, but they don't live here. And we'd have to do it. And all of them actually are, well, not all of them, but a few of the gals are more shy about being on camera. So for us to be able to just sit down and do it. We did do a little bit of work this morning, and we'll probably maybe get faster at it.
Well, we hope we can reach that goal.
Yeah, and maybe be a little less awkward.
And invariably someone will ask, what are those lights up there? So
really, is that
no,
so
well, I would.
Ask?
If I were watching this podcast, I would look up there and I'll say, what kind of lights are those? Because those are really fantastic lights. Well, they're called cable and cotton lights. They're from Brighton, England.
You just said we weren't going to promote any
products. I know. I'm not trying to promote them. They're just unique.
We will definitely promote things.
They're just really unique.
That's
and
true.
I have never seen them anywhere in the United States.
And they ship really quickly, except for that one time.
Yes. So
my Christmas present went to Thailand or something. Anyway, they're usually They usually come in a week or something.
So they're a woven.
It's cotton.
It's a woven cotton that they've put starch into it, and then you slip an LED light that they provide inside of it.
And the cool thing is you get to choose. You can either pick up ready-made one, or you can pick the colors of the balls, and you can pick multiple different colors.
Yeah,
and stuff,
so you can create your own color
you can
scheme.
create your own. It's more expensive to do the create your own than to do the ones they've already got ready to go. But they're fun. I have one in my room. There's one in the living room.
Yep.
There's one in your studio.
Yep. So
Yeah, and then the painting over there.
that one.
This
yes.
You did that.
I do dabble in some
You're
painting.
gonna do more sunsets.
I am a seeker of sunsets.
But
No,
are you
no,
gonna
not
paint more?
sunsets. Sunrises.
Sunrises. Are you gonna paint more of that?
I don't know. I've done about 5 of them. And
I can see why you maybe want to do something else for a while, but we really like them.
these have been amazing sunrises just about a mile away from the house. I go down to the water and I come home and I want to be able to create what I saw in God's studio with his paints. I want to be able to do it.
He's got a much better palette than you.
He does, and he paints so fast. So you can be standing
Constantly
there.
changing.
You can be standing there, and his color palette will change in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
Well, are we done?
I think we're good.
All right.
I didn't want to do it very long.
But we've gone on.
Well, we've gone on. I'll edit some stuff out. It'll be a whole hour.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
See
we
you
won't
next-
see you next time. When the podcasters say we'll see you next time, and like we won't see you. But you'll see us again,
All right.
right? It's a figure of speech.
Feel free to leave comments down
we won't
below.
see you later.
All right.
Bye.